Good evening, Dr. Patra sir. Namaskar. Dr. Patra sir, good evening.
I think sir is
good evening.
busy.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Mandira
Good evening,
ma'am.
sir.
Good evening,
Thank
Patra
you.
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
We can start, madam.
Okay, sir. So, a very good evening to all of you present over here. I, Dr. Mandira De, is welcoming you all to a very informative and enriching session on HR analytics, an algorithm for effective decision making. According to Peter Sondergaard, information is the oil of the 21st century, and analytics is the combustion engine. Today, the aim of the organizations and their leaders is not merely efficiency, but it is something beyond. The experts in charge of the various departments like marketing, finance, supply chain management, information technology, and customer relationship management have been recognizing the fact how imperative the data-driven insights are to generate notable business results. Human resource analytics, which basically integrates the business data with the people data, is an area in the field of analytics that defines the application of analytic process to the human resource department of an organization in order to improve the employee performance level and therefore enhance the organization's productivity and getting a better return on investment. Tracing the footprints of the data-driven world, this webinar has been organized by Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan Institute of Management Science, Kolkata. Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan Institute of Management Science, Kolkata was started in the year 2000 under the aegis of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan as a promising B school. Presently, it is functioning under Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology, Macau. Our MBA program is affiliated to the Macau and is approved by the All India Council for Technical Education, Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India, and Department of Higher Education, Technical Education, Government of West Bengal. The institute conducts a 2 years MBA program on a regular basis and a 3 years BBA program on a regular basis. We are really blessed to have all the distinguished speakers who are present over here to enlighten us with their mesmerizing speech. There is a humble request to all of you. We are going to provide e-certificates for the participation in this webinar to all of you, but you kindly fill up the feedback form, which will be circulated in the chat box from time to time. So please fill up the feedback form and get the e-participation certificates. So again, a warm welcome to all of you. We are commencing our program with the lightening of lamp and Bhavan's anthem. Okay, welcome back. Now, I am cordially requesting our Honorable Principal Sir, Dr. Ramakant Patra, to commence the program with the welcome address. To speak a few lines about him, Dr. Patra has completed his graduation BA and post-graduation MA from Calcutta University. He has completed LLB 2 years full Masters in Personal Management and PhD in Human Resource Accounting from Bhopal University. He has more than 12 years experience in different industries and 26 years in academics, including 14 years at National Institute of Technology, Bhopal. He has been recognized by Government of India for his incredible work and received grant in aid for its publication. I am welcoming you, sir, to take the dais for the welcome address.
Thank you, Dr. Mandira. So very good evening to all the panelists, students, my dear faculty members, and other participants in today's webinar on HR Analytics and Algorithm for Effective Decision Making. I, on my personal behalf and on behalf of Bharatiyya VIDYA Institute of Management Science, KOLKATA, take the privilege in welcoming all of you to this webinar. Basically, I will not take more time because our very rich speakers are there. We will be listening from them. About the theme, I speak a few words. What is HR Analytics? This HR Analytics is the systematic identification and quantification of the people drivers of business outcomes. Of all the departments in an organization, human resource department may have the least popular reputation. Okay, I'm not making it wrong. This has two reasons. One reason is that the HR department is like a doctor. You'd rather never need one. Picture your role from the other side. When you ask an employee to come by your office, it is likely that something bad is going to happen. You may need to reprimand him, put on notice, or even fire your colleague. But good news, like getting a promotion, tends to come from an employee's direct manager, not HR. And second reason is that many regard HR as soft, fluffy daddy, old-fashioned. A lot of the work in HR is based on gut feeling. We are doing things a certain way because we have always done in that way. And HR does not have a reputation of bringing in the big bucks, playing a numbers game like sales. HR also struggles to quantify and measure its success as marketing and finance do. Today, we are going to discuss this HR analytics. HR analytics, also referred to as people analytics, workforce analytics, talent analytics, which involves gathering together, analyzing, and reporting HR data. It enables your organization to measure the impact of a range of HR metrics on overall business performance and make decisions based on the available data. In other words, I can say that HR analytics is a data-driven approach towards human resource management. And HR analytics is a fairly novel tool. This means it is still largely unexplored in scientific literature like other areas. The best known scientific HR analytics definition has been given by Well and Bundarock. According to them, HR analytics is the systematic identification and quantification of the people drivers of business outcomes. That is, as per their definition, and in the past century, human resource management has changed dramatically manifold, and it has shifted from an operational discipline towards a more strategic one. The popularity of the term strategic human resource management, SHRM, exemplifies this. The data-driven approach that characterizes HR analytics is in line with this development. I can summarize by saying that in 1990s, it was operational HRs. In 2000, it was strategic HR. And now it is data-driven HR. So this dramatic change has taken place, and by using, but HR decisions are no longer a gut feeling. By using people analytics, you don't have to rely on gut feeling anymore. Analytics enables HR professionals to make data-driven decisions. Furthermore, analytics helps to test the effectiveness of HR policies and different interventions. So I think today, during this pandemic situation, the role of HR analytics had grown manifold. Now this has become a challenge. How to train the human resource, and so that everybody is having the exposure, having the expertise in working in the database. So that is a challenge for all of us, because today there is no more manual system, mechanical system we are using. Everything is done on data. And this is effective, efficient, and quick. Decision can be taken. So that is the theme of this today's program. And once again, I welcome you all. And before winding up, let me speak few words about BIMS, Bharatiya Vidyavan Institute of Management Science. Bharatiya Vidyavan Institute of Management Science is right now having two programs. One is 2 years full-time MBA program affiliated to MAKOUT, approved by AICTE, and another 3 years full-time BBA program affiliated to MAKOUT. But BHAVAN's known as discipline. BHAVAN's is known as the quality, and the strength of BHAVAN's is the highly qualified faculty members. I request all of you, urge all of you to visit our website and have a look of the profile of our faculty members. Out of existing 15 faculty members, 12 are having PhD holders. And we don't compromise with quality. And I am challenging that we are the only one who are having the student scorecard. And these scorecards of each and every student is being evaluated at 3 levels: faculty mentor, corporate mentor, and alumni mentor. And we have a very strong industry institute linkage cell through which we made the relationship with the industry, invite them for delivering, interacting with the students, and groom them. We have a tie-up with the corporate people. They used to groom the students, make them corporate ready, And another, we used to assist, not guarantee. We used to assist 100% placement assistance to each and everybody. But if I say, why you are not giving guarantee? No, we cannot give guarantee because I have not seen the performance of the student. How I can give guarantee? That will be totally lie. So we prepare them, we make them corporate ready, and we are very disciplined. And during this pandemic situation also, we have not compromised with our delivery, with our classes, with the activities. Everything is going on online. So that is the quality of the Bhavan. So thank you very much. And for your reference, I may request all of you to visit the website of Bhavan's bimschool.org. You can get all the requisite information. So thank you once again and welcome you all to this webinar today. And once again, I welcome all the panelists, all the students, all the faculty members, and all other participants for this webinar. So you enjoy the program. And as Madam has rightly told that we have a question answer session also. So after each panelist keep their views, then the moderator will allow you to ask some questions, but there is a limitation of the questions. Okay, n number of questions cannot be handled due to shortage of time. And only then you can ask some questions and moderator will handle. Okay, thank you once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your nice welcome address. So now I take the privilege to introduce the moderator and speakers of the sessions. Mr. Pradeep Bandyopadhyay, who is the HR Head East at GeForce Secure Solutions India Private Limited, has completed post-graduation from Calcutta University, ISWBM, NIPM, Kolkata. He is the HR and IR professionals having more than 25 years of experience in different corporates like Ambuja Cements, Berger Pens, Anandabazar Patrika. Welcoming you, sir, to moderate our session. Speaking about our eminent speakers, starting with Dr. Nilanjan De, who is the Associate Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, JIS University, Kolkata. He is a visiting fellow of the University of Reading, UK. He is an adjunct professor of Ton Duc Thanh University, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Previously, he held an honorary position of visiting scientist at Global Biomedical Technologies, Canada, USA, 2012 to 15. He was awarded his PhD from Jadavpur University in 2015. He is the editor-in-chief of the International Journal of Ambient Computing and Intelligence, IGI Global. He is the series co-editor of Springer Tracks in Nature-Inspired Computing series, co-editor of Advances in Ubiquitous Sensing Applications for Healthcare, Elsevier, series editor of Computational Intelligence in Engineering Problem Solving and Intelligent Signal Processing and Data Analysis. His main research interests include medical imaging, machine learning, computer-aided diagnosis, data mining. He is the Indian ambassador of the International Federation for Information Processing, Young ICT Group, and senior member of IEEE. Our next speaker is Ms. Anisha Vitricharya. She is the solution architect credited with around 12 years of corporate exposure, enriched with enterprise resource planning through Sap Technologies in human resource. She has led large-scale IT transformation and digitization projects in transiting client IT landscape from legacy approach to analytics approach. Currently, Anisha is a solution architect in an eminent organization. Started her corporate journey after her MBA in human resource. Her vast experience helps her to keep footprint in multiple industries like pharma, consumer good, manufacturing. She has been awarded with SAP Pinnacle Award twice in her career, along with various other organizational recognition. Our next speaker is Mr. Vishal Varma, who is the head HR Alumnus Software Limited. A person with data-driven human resource professional with over 15 years of cross-cultural experience in human resource function including talent acquisition, HR analytics, talent management and development, expertise in delivering sustained organizational growth in dynamic environments, establishing structure, building employee value, driven vision, and achieving critical strategic goals. He has been actively involved in promoting HR analytics and is regarded as one among technically capable persons for leading HR analytic projects. He has been actively involved in training HR professionals and students in the field of HR analytics. Worked with major organizations like Times Press Private Limited, SRP Environ System Private Limited, Jai Balaji Industries Limited, Environ Solar Private Limited, Techno Electric and Engineering Company Limited, and currently associate with Aluminous Software Limited as Head HR, where he is in the leading the function of talent acquisition, talent management, talent development, and HR analytics. He holds Masters in Science, Gold Medalist, Masters in Business Administration, EPHRM from IIM Calcutta. He is Certified Assessor from XLRI Jamshedpur and Certified NLP Practitioner and Life Coach from Transformation Academy. He has been awarded at HR Professional of the Year 2016, Business Excellent Award in 2017 and 18, HR Analytics Star of the Year 2019. He is the author of a book on compensation management, apart from publishing many articles in national as well as international journals, HR magazines on various aspects of modern HR practices. Our last speaker is Mr. Sunny Mukherjee. He is the HR analytics expert, having almost 9 years of experience in HR domain, started career with Parasways as an HR executive, Infosys Limited as a senior HR associate, Benfit Technologies Limited as a HR manager, NG India Invest as a zonal HR, Capgemini Technology Services India Limited as a subject matter expert human resource, associated with a well-known MNC as a BUHR. Here, I am concluding my introductions and requesting Mr. Pradeep Bandyopadhyay to moderate the session. Please, sir, take on the dais and enlighten this session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mandira De. Good evening to all of you. Thanks, Dr. Patro. Thanks to all the erudite panelists who have come here, who are spending their Saturday evening for this seminar. And most of all, thanks to all the students who have logged in. I see around 101 participants as of now. So that's a very encouraging and a good sign that so many students have logged in to gain, to have an enriching experience when our panelists discuss about what HR analytics is all about. At the beginning, Dr. Patro has very clearly mentioned that HR analytics is defined as an area in the field of analytics that deals with people analysis and applying process to the human capital within the organization with a scope to improve the employee performance and employee retention. So that is what HR analytics is all about. Organizations interpret in a different way, and they have their interpretation as per their application and as per the requirement. Now, what do we mean by algorithm? A process, a set of rules to be followed in calculations or any other problem-solving operations. So if we analyze both these definitions, then what we conclude is that what HR analytics is all about, first of all, and secondly, whether it's an effective tool or whether it's an effective process as far as effective decision making is concerned. So we have the HR analytics at one point of time and how far it is being harnessed for an effective decision making as far as HR is concerned. I need not elaborate much more because our principal, Dr. Patro, has elaborately mentioned the importance of HR, how it has become a strategic function, and the importance it is gaining day to day with the passage of time. And a day will come, I think, when HR, nothing will move without HR, because myself being an HR professional, I know what difference it creates if you have the right HR in the right person at the right time for the right organization. So with this in mind, I would request our first speaker, Professor Dr. Nilanjan De, Associate Professor, GIS University, Kolkata, to give his, and I would request all the panelists, the erudite panelists over here, to please see to it that you have within 20 minutes your deliberations, because at the end of your deliberations, what I was intending is that we will take a couple of questions specifically addressed to the particular panelists from our students, and after all the panelists have shared their views, we will take a few more questions which can be for any of the four, either of the four panelists or to all the four panelists, and to have their very rich response to what the students want to know. So with that background, I'm sorry, with that background, I would request Dr. Nilanjan De. I can see Dr. Nilanjan De. A very good evening to you, sir. I would request you to please start the proceedings, and please enlighten us with what you have to share. We are eagerly wanting to know from you as far as HR analytics is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So very good afternoon to all of you. So I think I am a bit mismatched with this, I mean, in this event, but there are lots of HR professionals and HR experts are there. I am not an HR expert. I'm a technical guy. So last time I visited your institute, it was a very nice experience. So once Pathu sir told me about this, so I said, okay, I will try to share rather discuss some of the things. So it's not typically HR what I'm going to say. I think after my this session, there will be 2-3 more experts will talk about this. So let me share my screen. So I will talk about how artificial intelligence can be deployed in risk management. So please bear for 20 minutes with me. So let me start. Okay. So initially the business, once we actually thought about the risk management, now the paradigm is shifted from traditional risk management to risk performance management system. And this RPMS is basically where we try to find out the emerging risk trend. So the pattern of the risk which we are going to encounter in near future, that we try to predict, or there should be some forecasting model so that we can find out that these are the probable risks which we are going to encounter or our business is going to encounter. And there are lots of data are there. In the business is getting smarter. It's changing the shape. The business dynamics changing rapidly. So it is getting more complex. So as the business getting more complicated and complex, the new risks are coming into the picture. So that's why we have to predict. We have to find out that what are the in future risks we are going to encounter. Now, talking about the risk, the traditional risk, there are primarily two types of focus. One is the subjective, one is the individual perception. But we are always try to deal with, or rather optimize, the emerging risk through REPM. Now, our objective is that help to all the business stakeholders to identify the emerging risk trend. And for that, we need some metrics. We need some effective monitoring through that matrix. So one of the metrics for the small business, that is likelihood versus the impact matrix. So likelihood might be the probable, might be the possible or improbable. Impact can be the acceptable, tolerance, intolerance, or unacceptable rather, or intolerance. So it's a kind of little bit of risk there. So you can accept it, you can tolerate it. It's not a very serious thing, or some major disruption can be there in the business. And the last one, intolerant, means which you can't afford. Maybe the business will go to a deadlock state. Now, if you plot these two and if you try to give in Likert scale the value, the acceptable, tolerance, unacceptable, intolerance, and you will see that if the likelihood is, risk unlikely to occur, that is improbable case, and the acceptability is little, so it's a kind of safer zone. And if it is intolerable, I mean, say it's a kind of probable risk, the occurrence of risk is very high, or the possible risk is very high, the likelihood is high, and maybe the intolerable, once a situation arises, the impact. So it's a kind of radius area, which is very risky zone. So in this way, you can actually, tell that through this matrix that these are the area where the risk it will be there, this much risk will be there. So this is the likelihood and impact matrix. There is a second one, that is the likelihood and consequence one, where we actually move from the reactive to the proactive measures. Like once a continuous monitoring, we proceed from the periodical one. Now consequences, if it is extreme consequences and likelihood is almost certain, then we need a continuous review. Now, if the likelihood is rare or unlikely, but the consequence is high, we should go for continuous monitoring. Or if the consequence is medium, or I think moderate or say low, or the likelihood is also rare, unlikely, so we should go for periodic monitoring. And once the consequence is low and medium, and the likelihood is almost certain, we should go for a periodic review. So continuous review, continuous monitoring, periodic monitoring, and the periodic review. So these are the different things which you need to take care once you study the likelihood and the consequence. And then after that, the last one I'm going to discuss, that is the appropriability and the complications which you are actually encounter. So the compliance and the appropriateness, if you measure, then you will see if the compliance is say low and the appropriateness is very high, then you need to go for re-engineering the people. And if the appropriateness is say low and the compliances are high, then you should go for re-engineering the process. So it's a kind of re-engineering. One time you are re-engineering for the people, and one time is the process. So these are the two things you have to take care that when we go for re-engineering cases. So these are the some risk monitoring matrices which actually will require later on, once I discuss. So what I was saying about this data, so data analytics for the risk management, we need to always identify, assess, monitor, and always have to mitigate the risk. So if the risks are there, you need to transfer the risk, you need to go for the reduction, you need to go for accepting the risk, or you may avoid. So these are the different things which you need to take care. Now, once the first thing is there are different risks, might be internal, might be external, environmental risk. Like internal risk might be the lack of funding, might be the business portfolio, or the external risk can be some government regulations, climate changes, or political issues are there. So these are the different risks. And once there are complicated, this kind of scenario occurs, the industrial economy will actually depends upon this kind of risk. So that time you have to find out, or you have to deal with lots of variance data. Now, once you talk about lots of variance data, then we have to go for web scraping. Now, what is web scraping? Web scraping, where we deal with different types of business data, or rather enterprise data, where the data size is very large, that is a volume. Then the velocity, the way the data is coming, is very faster, and the variety, that is the different categories of data, structured data, unstructured data, some semi-structured data. So that's why we have to scrap from say HTML pages, or maybe from the Twitter, maybe from any kind of RSS feeding, etc. So in this way, you can say these are the basic feature of big data. That is the 3V, that is the velocity, volume, and the variability. And from there, we try to capture all those internal and external points to identify the potential or emerging risk. Now, second thing is the business assessment or the prioritization. And for prioritization, you have to look into those metrics. As I said, that the impact and likelihood matrix, you have to focus on that, and you have to find out the criticality of the business risk. And based on that, you have to prioritize which particular risk you will give more focus. You go for transfer, you go for locking that one, or you wants to avoid that thing. Then comes the mitigation and the response part. So you have to always come up with some best strategy, best suitable alternative. So if some risk happen, then you have to think about it, that there should be a proper separate way of dealing with such kind of alternatives. So for that, what you need to do, that we have to create some simulated risk. So that simulated scenario actually creates what if this situation arises. So it tells you that if such kind of situation arises, then you try to simulate such kind of one scenario, and then you find out that what kind of risk analysis you will go for. So it's a kind of optimal response strategy finalization. by creating a scenario which is called what if scenario. So if this situation arises, simulate such kind of scenario and find out what will be the risk and what will be the mitigation strategy. Now, for this, what you need to do, you have to go for a continuous monitoring, and for that, the particularly useful for it gives an alert to the mitigation owner. So you need to revisit or refocus, and in this particular area, the ML or the AI takes an important role. Now, talking about the next one, that is the monitoring part. Monitoring is a kind of thing where you have actually any risk. There are multiple number of factors or the parameters are associated with the risk. So those factors or the parameters or the data parameter need to tune properly. So that parameters, if you tune properly, might be it will lead or lag the indicators. You are trying to do either both, or you are trying to lead or lag. So it can be multiple parameters you are trying, to tune simultaneously, or a particular parameter you are trying to tune. So it's what I'm talking about is any risk, potential risk. There are lots of parameters associated with that, and you have to optimize those parameters in such a way that it can be monitored properly. So this is another thing. And after that, there is one important thing is called the workflow. So if you study the workflow in business stakeholders, what are the different phases they pass through? Risk management workflow is kind of the planning strategy is the first one, then identification, then comes the your qualitative or quantitative risk assessment, then acceptability of the risk, then comes the response planning, and it can be also, if it is yes, it can also go for the contingency calculation, the contingency, and lastly it will go for monitoring and control. So the one is basically decide how. So it's a planning phase, find them, that is the identification, then comes the filtering, then comes the measure, then comes the decision actions, and ultimately it will go for the act and measures. What are the different measures you are going to take? And the last one is a reporting one. So for reporting, you need to understand the whole life cycle of the risk. So any point of time, the on-demand reports, it actually helps the scheduling part, that what are the risks you are going to find out in future. And for that, you need to come up with some strategy, which is a so-called reinforcement learning kind of. So you have to improvise the past learning or the experiences into that, so that once the human intervention will be there, or the past experience, it will be injected into the management system, it will be more, it can deal with more number of different types of risk. So once we talk about this, it's all about the data. So what there are in business, you will see there are lots of structured data, unstructured data. For any organizational data, it comes from the public sector. It might be directly coming from the customer anywhere. There is a volume, velocity, and the variety, as I said. So it always needs some sophisticated tool to analyze those data. And for that, if you study the structured data and unstructured data, you will see in last 10 years or 12 years down the line, there is a huge change of data feeding into the system. Like the data generated, most of the cases are unstructured data. So there is no actually percentage you can come up with for the structured and unstructured data. Unstructured data are basically which you are trying to put into some columns or rows, but you are not be able to do it. So there is no relationship in between the data. The data can be image, the data can be video, the data can be email, etc. So any social media data is a kind of example of unstructured data. So almost 80% organizational data is unstructured data, which needs lots of storage, and different security issues are also there. So this structured and unstructured data, and in between there is a semi-structured data also. So our focus should be on dealing with those unstructured data mainly. Now, talking about artificial intelligence and ML, a little bit of that always machine learning algorithm is very sensitive towards the data which you are using for the training purpose. For the training purpose, it's very sensitive, because once you give the data garbage, it will give you garbage result. So it's a garbage out. So that's why always we have to look into the test training, the target, based on the target, we should decide what type of training data we will use. Now, once we talk about the data, then gathering more data is not a very difficult task. But the problem is, once you gather the data, that data needs to be cleaned properly. Now, for the cleaning process, if you not go for a proper cleaning process, then what will happen? The entire model should be negatively impacted. Now, talking about this data, there is one type of data which is called bad data, extraneous data, garbage data, or contextual error, might be redundant data, might be missing data. So different kinds of bad data can be there. So all those bad data are bad guys. So somehow you have to make them good guy, or otherwise you have to throw from the entire data pool. It's always not a good idea to throw those data from the pool, because there might be some cases where the organization is very small and the number of data generated is very less. It's a small business. Then you can't, afford that thing, that you are losing the data. The important thing is all good data are looks alike, so it's almost similar. But all bad data are bad in its own way. That means the bad guy, different bad guy, that champ is different. So for them individually, we have to treat, we have to deal. So individually, you have to focus on that data and you have to rectify, or you have to correct the data. Now, how much data is required? Actually, there is no as such hard and fast rule. The main thing is that much of data you required. If the data is clean data, try to give more number of data, better generation. So if you think about in mathematical way, if there are one point, if you try to fit a curve, there are multiple points, if you try to fit a curve, if there are n number of points, if you try to fit a curve, that polynomial curve will be much more smoother. If it will be a better generation if the number of data points are very large in size, number. And the second thing is the number of points, if it's less, if you go for any statistical analysis, if you go for linear regression kind of, say, you will see if the number of point increases automatically, it will pass through, something like it will see, it's a kind of point estimation will be improved. So always this, say, if you are dealing with KNN, if you try to classify, the number of data points actually changes the clustering. So if you are using any kind of SPSS kind of software, and if you study this kind of thing, you will see more data, more generation, more impactful things you will get from there. Even in your in HR, I think that there are some certain things like number of in survey cases. I'm saying I'm not an expert in this area. So if you are collecting the survey data, so how many numbers of sample size should be there? So if there is a software, as per my knowledge concern, which is called RAWSoft. So the RAWSoft, if you put the data, it might show you that 436 data is good to go with. So that after that you can, that number of sample might be, you can feed to the system to come up with a proper decision based on the survey questionnaire. And another thing is, if you go for say hierarchical any kind of designing, model design, and the tree structure splitting also depends upon the size of the data. Now, what's wrong with this small data? If you are working with very less number of data, the organization is small. The major issue is the variance will actually move within a particular zone. That means it will revolve around a high variance zone. And the second thing is the overfitting. It will get overfitted. And the number of outliers, if the data size is very less, the number of outlier presence will affect a huge. Because if there are 5 data, one bad guy, if there are 5,000 data, one bad guy, you can imagine what is good and what is bad. So outlier is not good for small size data. And the last one, if there is noisy data, the data is not actually perturbated data. So that scattered data or noisy data is not good for any kind of learning system. Now, talking about big data actually helps to find out the potential, the financial risk, as well as the cyber attack risk or the cyber security related risk, etc. So if you think about it, if you study, you will see, if you study all different types of business risk, mostly the first two, that is the data theft, and the second one, the leakage of internal information, these both are related with data. But apart from these, all the risks are somehow not directly related with data, but the most prominent two risks are associated with data. So once you have to work in any kind of management system, we have to more focus on what type of data we are generating, what type of data we are analyzing, and what type of data from there we are trying to infer something. Now, talking about different types of risk, one is identity fraud, which is very common in ATM. You have seen that there are transaction cases, lots of such kind of flaws you can find out. So big data plays an important role for this. Second one, the financial risk. Suppose if you are giving some credit risk, like you are giving to deliver some product, and you are trying to find out that he is capable to give that credit back or not. So understanding the credit risk, that is another kind of risk. Then this topic related, that is the HR related, which one is called the retention of the employee. So you spend lots of money for the training purpose, for the job, training. Then after that, there is an interview process. You hire them, and then after that, after training, you may place them. And for that, after that, you find that one fine morning he left the company. So retention also plays a significant role for this. You have to find out what are the risks associated with such kind of attrition, employee attrition, which actually helps to reduce the attrition. Then comes the operational risk. operational risk is a bigger risk. Any kind of operational risk is always you have to give the most, it should be prioritized as the highest priority, because operational risk is a such kind of risk which change the entire paradigm of any kind of business. Then comes the digital risk, where actually the data breach and the number of days spent, it need to be studied, which is very vulnerable identity vulnerable thing as there. And last risk, which is a very low risk kind of thing, like suppose if you wants to start a new venture, and in that new venture, if you try to do, then for that what type of the demographic study, the ethnicity study you need to carry it out. Otherwise you can't come up with a certain business planning or the strategy. So I will take another 5 to 10 minutes, so not 5 exactly 10 minutes. So there are what I am talking about is this all type of risk. We have to embrace one thing, that is artificial intelligence. There are different limitations of artificial intelligence are there, but still today's business actually demands artificial intelligence. Why? Before going to that, let's talk about the limitation. One major limitation is the availability of the data. There is crunch of data, good data. Second thing is the shortage of the skill set. Those who are coming from human management, that area, so they are not very much trained with those things, technical staffs. So they need to give proper training, and there is a cost associated with this. Once you set up a particular AI infrastructure, that needs some in-house training, which actually associated with multiple cost. And there is complex of the nature business changes, and as well as these things also changes. So implementation time, integration challenges are there, usability and interpretation are also there, the technical complexities are there, potential lackage of transparency is also there, and lastly the customer privacy plays a significant role. So all these are different limitations of AI. Little bit of history. So it started from 1780. That time it was the machinization start, industry 1.0. Then after that 2.0, it's almost 90, after 90 years electrification comes, mass production of assembly line. Then after that, after say almost 100 years, automation started, electrification and the computation. So that is the 3.0. 3.5 is basically the globalization. It takes only 10 years time to globalize the whole thing. And then mass production actually helped by the globalization, offshoring. And then 4.0, we are now belonging. And in that era, we are deploying big data, blockchain, different technologies. And we are targeting in future, in 30 might be, we are reaching to 5.0. So that is our objectives, to reach that. And that time the main thing is it needs to be the augmented reality, virtual reality will play a significant role. And apart from these, the cobots will play a significant role, not the robot. The collaborative robot means human intervention should be there along with the robot. So that will play a significant role in future. So society you studied, if you think about from 1.0, it was 1.0 was hunting, 2.0 was agriculture, then industrialization, information, and we are reaching now 5.0. So now society and industrialization are parallelly running. So we have to adopt all those technologies so that we can come up with a super smart society. 2-3 more slides left. So one is for in this all we have to machine learning and all this all fault detection, the prediction maintenance, human interaction, security. So we need all devices which will capture the data, some devices, sensor devices from the real time, that is called the IoT, and those data needs to be fed into the either edge, or you go for fog computing or cloud computing, and you will see ultimately industrial AI leads up play a significant role, and it's far away from traditional AI and machine learning stuffs. So we have to go for industrial 4.0. We have to be smarter, and we have to adopt so that we can cope up with industrial 5.0 in future. And the major challenges are the lack of skill, as I said. One thing is, second thing of the digital infrastructure is not there. Capital in the expenditure you have to prioritize. There is a cybersecurity issues are there. So lastly, ethical issues. Once you go for AI, one big issue is job loss. So you have to redeploy, retrain your employees so that they can be back into the track. So fair distribution of the wealth, that is required. So we have to adopt some technique, some technology, so that we can retrain our people, redeploy our people, and there will be no job risk kind of thing. So this needs to be keep in mind. So let me give an example. Last 2-3 years back, I visited one BMW factory in Oxford, where I have seen that there was almost 400 people are working, but they are targeting that after 2 years, it will be downslide to 500. So that was their target. So it's actually produced 2.2 kind of minis per year lakhs. So you can imagine how much cars can be produced. So they're entirely driven by robots. So entirely driven by robots. There is no human intervention, only except the quality part. So in the quality part, the CMM level 5 they are following. So for that, they have maintained some certain quality issues, which is taken care by human being. Rest all are maintained by robots. But equally, there is another thing, interesting thing in China, in Kansai, where I visited one shoe factory where I found that almost 280 different phases are there, starting from the sensing of your feet to getting the shoe in your hand. From starting from the 3D scanning to the production line through it passes and it gives you a full product. In between 280 lines, almost, believe me, 250 are human driven. So somehow human interventions are there. So it's not that human intervention is not required. We are actually moving towards cobotic age. That means there should be a collaborative robot, and where human intervention, human experience, human expertise need to be intervene into the system. So thank you very much for your kind patience. I think I'm not taking much time. So
thank you, Dr. Dey. I would love that you could have taken more time because it was so interesting. So many things we learned from you, and it's our bad luck that we have to be constrained by time, because a lot of questions. I was thinking a lot of many things which came up to my mind, because a few things which I have jotted down is relating to this risk management, moving from risk management to the risk enabled performance management system, which is something very important as far as HR is concerned. And the way you have dealt with artificial intelligence in risk management, starting from risk response and mitigation to risk monitoring to risk reporting, data analytics and risk management. I think this is the very essence on which we are setting our discussions today, and also relating to the data, the unstructured data. In fact, a very important data which you shared is 80% of the organization data is unstructured. That is something which the students should know, because in the long run, they would to work on that unstructured data. And also the data hungriness, that is also very, very relevant. I was going through your slide. And the redundant data, bad data, absolutely. I have seen it with my experience also, the redundant or the bad data, which needs to be tackled so carefully, because it should not have an adverse impact on the organization. That is one thing. And how the big data helps in to manage or mitigate risks. That is also something which you have very clearly mentioned. And also the operational risk management, the digital risk management, the limitations in the using of this artificial intelligence, and also the two examples which you gave. I think that we will be moving to that position. I think India is not far away also. Thank you so much. Yes, I would have loved that. Had you spent maybe another an hour or so, we would have learned so many things.
And too many speakers are they're experts in the area. Actually,
no,
I'm
definitely.
far away from this zone. Because I'm trying to give an idea of what the data is. Data is a fuel. So how data is important. Right?
Absolutely.
So anyone having any questions? So without, here.
Absolutely. I would again request the students and also the honorable faculty members over here, if you can kindly post your questions in the chat box. We can take a couple of questions right now, or for that matter, if you want to take offline, I think Dr. Dey would be more than glad to take the questions offline also. So there is one question, how artificial robotics be utilized to analyze, implement and evaluate risks and mitigate the outcomes of the human resources in an organization for an overall sustained benefit in the post-pandemic or the new normal. If you can see.
See, our main objective to deploy for this AI and robotics is for risk, reporting and the evaluation rather, and mitigation. That is, see, after this pandemic, what are the different types of risk can be there? That is the first thing. So that is the potential risk. So you have to study, you have to gather the data that these are the coming risks which are actually encountering in future. Means these are the coming risks. So based on that, we need to find out the strategy. AI is actually helps to give you a forecasting model. It gives you a something predictive model, but it actually not gives you a solution. We are not going to the exact solution. Rather, we are trying to reach to near to the exact solution. So that's why gathering of data from real time and from based on that predicting the risk in near future is our task. So during pandemic and post pandemic, these things will change because we have to predict based on the during pandemic data to post pandemic data. So nobody knows actually what's going to happen and when these things will stop. So we see, if you study, you will see in last February, I have written one book from Springer, how artificial intelligence is significant for pandemic. I'm not talking about this February. I'm talking about last February. That was maybe the very first book in computer science for pandemic, based on pandemic. So that book, if you try to, if you write my name and try to write the artificial intelligence, then Springer, then you will see that book. It's an open access book. So that book, if you follow, you will see lots of such kind of things I discussed long back. We discussed, not I, that these are the challenges we are going to face in near future. So the landscape will drastically change, and sitting on during pandemic, it's very difficult to predict what is going to happen in future, the risk. We can try, but we don't know.
Thank you, Dr. Day. I think what you have elaborated or elucidated over here is something which is absolutely relevant, and especially the pre-pandemic and the post-pandemic scenario which we are describing, a predictive analysis of what we can take from the pre-pandemic situation and its application. As a matter of fact, how far it is, how much it can be predicted, that only time will tell, but obviously we can always have a look at it. Thanks for your presentation.
One thing I just want to add, that most of the studies are carried out based on the survey. So they are taking a Likert scale and all. You can see there are lots of surveys are going on and people are trying to do. There is huge reliability issue. Even if you do the reliability test, still there are reliability issue. So because these data is very much biased, because the things today's my health condition, my situation, my mental state, my behavior, all these things actually reflect on individual data. And as I said, each bad data is bad its in own way. So one bad data actually spoiled the entire game. So that's why based on these data, if you try to predict, maybe the prediction model will not be a very good model, maybe not robust. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
So we would request our next speaker, Ms. Anisha Bhattacharya, Solution Architect, to kindly enlighten us with her inputs on this HR analytics and algorithm for effective decision making.
Thank you, sir. So I'm leaving the meeting. Huh? Okay.
Okay.
Please
thanks.
continue.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, please.
Hi, I'll just start sharing my screen. Just let me know if you can see my screen now. So first of all, thanks so much, Bharathiya Vidya and Mondira ma'am, for giving me the opportunity to share my experience, my share in the HR analyst, what I'm gaining for the last decades of my exposures in HR domain. So I hope all of you are doing good in this pandemic situation. I will start with my introduction first. So I'm Anvesha. First of all, I'm very sorry for a technical glitch. I'll not be able to go to the video right now. So you have to bear with me only in the audio. So yeah, so I'm Anvesha. I'm a solution architect in an organization, and once I have done my MBA, I am having a corporate exposures of around 12 years, and among them, for the last 5 years, I'm leading the enterprise resource planning capability for my current organization and for the previous organization as well. So in this 12 years of exposures, I was in the HR domain, and as well as slowly shifting to the enterprise resource planning, as well as the HR analytics part. So with that, without further ado, let's move towards today's very interesting topic, that is the HR analytics, right? Okay, so whenever we talk about a decision making of the HR, especially from the legacy point of view, we usually talk about the gut feelings, right? Like the HR takes, most of the HR takes their decision on the basis of the guts. So the HR who is more experienced, his gut power tells much accurate thing. So it's always good to use our guts in the, especially being in the HR domain. But if that guts comes with a proper analytical thought process, if it comes with, you know, seeing some patterns, seeing some trend, if we do a proper analysis of situation, of people, of process, at that point of time, our gut feelings will be working much more effectively. So your decision making, which is backed upon with the data point, that will be much more accurate than the previous case. So that chance of error is actually going to get reduced a lot. So that's a basic of HR analytics. I'm not talking about, you know, the theoretical term, but with experience, when we talk to the corporate leaders, when we talk to the multiple organizational HRs, these are the inputs we get. And from there, we are coming out with this concept. So now in the HR analytics, there are multiple tools currently available, right? So what are the most benefit that we are getting from these tools? So the first is it's very easily integrated among multiple functions. Like a very quick example could be the labor timesheet, right? So when the employees are filling in their timesheet in the HR, they are putting the cost to the cost center, which is basically a financial concept. So using this kind of analytical tool, it's very easy to integrate between multiple functions like HR with projects, with finance. Yeah. The same way, there is another point which is very important for the HR analytics. It is the custom reporting and the dashboard. So with the data, with the reactive data, what we are having in the system, multiple informations throughout the years, on the basis of that, there can be multiple reports, multiple dashboards we can get with the softwares that we are using, and that will eventually help in a proper decision making, a strategic decision making, which will help the organization in the long run. So this custom report and the trend setting and forecasting are very interrelated. How? So the custom report and dashboard is basically, I will be talking about the reactive process, you know. So something is happening in your organizations, you are putting the data, and from that you are getting a report which is help you to understand how the organization is currently behaving or it was behaving in the past. To see that trend, on the basis of that, you can actually read the pattern, find out the similarity or the dissimilarity. And on the basis of that, you can understand how your organization will be behaving in the future. So in that case, the point of forecasting is also coming, which probably we will be discussing a little more details in the future slides, which are coming, where I will be talking about the specific tools where I am more involved. Yeah. So moving towards the next point here, what I have today, that's to understand enterprise resource planning and how this enterprise resource planning is currently considered as a very powerful tool in the HR analytics. So we know about the Power BI, Tableau, right? So these are the reports which are actually getting based on the basis of this kind of enterprise resource planning. So first of all, what is this resource planning? This enterprise resource planning is all about. It defines the ability to deliver an integrated suite of business applications. Okay, so again, the biggest point, the biggest benefit what we get from the enterprise resource planning is it will um, easify our regular activity, you know, the day-to-day activity. So when we start with the concept of enterprise resource planning, the aim was to make the life of the organization easy. So if I talk about the HR part, say to make the life of the HR people easy, they used to work with loads of paperwork and all. So now with this kind of tools, when you are having it, it is much easier to maintain the data, to get the informations as quick as you want to. But slowly, when we are entering, or we are in the middle of a age of AI, at that point of time, this enterprise resource planning is actually being used as a very effective HR analyst tool also. How? We will be saying it here. So in this enterprise resource planning, the tools where I'm working throughout my career, that is of ACP HCM and the ACP Success Factors. So this SAP HCM is basically a kind of legacy. It's getting a little legacy systems right now, where we are using the on-premise, what we call as on-premise human capital management, which is not basically a cloud-based software. Yeah. So the advanced version of the SAP HCM is basically the success factor. So it was success factor, and now it has been bought by SAP, so it has become SAP success factor. So it is a cloud version. You can say it is a cloud version of the SAP HCM, but with much more advanced features added up for the people analytics, for the HR analytics, and for the easy integrations as well. So the main correlation between this HCM and the success factor is a very easy integration happens currently also between these two, and it gives you a better analytical performance. Moving further, we are in this slide, I'm going to show you in the human capital management, which are the biggest tool, which are the very quick tool, which we were using for the as a tool of HR analytics. So the first point of this would be the BI reporting. So BI reporting, or the business integration reporting, is a very, very effective and very strong reporting tool. With this, we are actually, you can get information from multiple modules, rather multiple functions, like human resource, like sales, like finance. And if you have any report you require where you need the inputs from all these functions, you can get all the data, and then you can prepare a data which can be shown to multiple stakeholders in their required view. So the executives or the leadership of the organization does not need to see a very big drill down report, right? They need to know the overall strategies, so that that will help them to strategize the future actions of the organization. So those kind of inputs are very easily receivable by this BI reporting. The next point I can talk about the query reporting. So it's a very easy fingertip report on go we can get. So to give you an example, like being an HR, you are going for a hiring. Okay, so you have a plan to hire a sales executive person. So if in your system you are having the option to save the characteristics quality of your employees by any way, by the trend setting, anyway, if you can get those inputs, so what you can say, you can get a report, you can see the trend that for the last few years, for a particular role, what kind of people was actually helping to succeed more. Because in your system, you will be having the performance informations. In the same very system, you will be getting the characteristics input. You will be able to see the learning curve. So from all these informations, you will be able to see in future what kind of employee you need if you want to hire. So when you are going for an interview, you already have, you know, a chart in your mind that you need a person which meets these and these and these points. So previously when you used to go, probably you used to go with lots of guts feelings, but now your guts are getting backed up with the data, where you will be more confident. Another point for the human capital management, I'm going to say about the custom report and data dashboard. So it's very similar to the BI reporting, but how it is different, like BI reporting is another tool inside the ERP, but here, even in the SAP HCM, you can create multiple custom reports. So there is it's a technical term. So the SQL queries are basically getting used to written those. So we call them developers who write those codes, who write the programs. So we have a functional team who are basically the HR domain experts. They get the inputs from the business, and they understand that what kind of report they want to get. So basically, if you see, these are the places where the role of the HR analyst become very important. So we being HR analyst, what we do, we are having the knowledge of the domain. With that, we know about the tool, we know about the HR analyst. So when we have a discussion with the business, rather with the client, we understand the requirement, and on the basis of that, we can give our proposal, our expertise, so that they can leverage that and they can do their strategy, they can flourish more efficiently, more effectively. So the next one is the advanced version of the SAP HCM, which is the SAP Success Factors we were talking. So now this SAP Success Factor is basically a software which is more improved version of SAP HCM, if I can say that. So in this product, the HR analytics part has been improved a lot. So they call the product as workforce analytics. So what this workforce analytics exactly do? So I'm giving you a very high level idea. So like there is a functionality added, what is called as forecasting functionality. So I work for the compensation, whether my team works for the compensation module. So what happens, giving you an example of bonus, right? So in an organization, you were getting bonus for last 5 years. You were in an organizations on the basis of the company's performance and your performance, you were getting bonus for last 5 years. Now this product comes with a functionality on the basis of that you actually can showcase that these employees, like you have a bunch of employees, so a group of employees, in which band they belongs to, in which demographic conditions they belong to, and on the basis of that how their past performance happened, and if you know that how your organization performance had happened before, and example like current pandemic situations, you know that your organization performance is going to get a hit, right? So at that case you will be able to actually doing a forecasting, like in this year, last year we know what had happened during the pandemic. So when this year the bonus planning is happening, they already know that the organization got a hit. So on the basis of that, this year also they can predict that how the organization's performance is gonna happen. And with that, you are having the performance of those employees data for the previous years. So that pattern, that report, that will help you to come up with the forecasting functionality, which is very effectively help you to do the budgeting in the organizations, which will help you to go for any new scope in the financial market. Another point where the success factor working great in the analytics tool, that is the strategic recruitment and requisition management. So let's talk about the requisition management first. So we know like if there is a job opening comes up, we need to go with the requisition for that. So if we have this requisition very last point of time, we are not able to get all the required resources in the organizations. So as a loophole of that, probably we can lose some work, we can lose some money, and at the end of the day, my organization is going to suffer loss. So if this requisition we can get much ahead of time to see the pattern, to see the requirement in a forecasting way, then we will be able to handle our requisition in a much better way. So the success factor people analytics work wonder there. So there is a great forecasting functionality available to handle the requisition management also. But the strategic recruitment is another part where it is doing really well. So like we are previously, what happened when we used to apply for a job, we used to apply, we used to send the resumes, hard copy, soft copy, and if you were not getting selected, the copies were actually went into trash. So nobody used to take any um, count on them, right? But on nowadays, most of the organizations, they are having a very solid database maintained, and in the database with this analytical tool they can actually able to find those CVs for further requirements also. So in future, if there is a requirement comes in for that, so there are few concept of keyword selections in the in the tool itself. So with those keyword search, you will actually be able to find out the old CVs as well. But to do that, it is very important to manage the relationship with the candidates also. So because of using of this HR analytics tool, you can see now if the organization where you were applying, I'm not sure whether any of you have experienced that, but I faced this experience. Like I have probably applied for some organizations, it did not work out. And at that point, but till today on my birthday, I get a wish from the organizations. So that is the way they actually try to keep a good relationship, because probably in future there could be a requirement comes up where they can pull out the CVs and they can work it out, and that process will be much smoother. The last point for the success factor, which I want to mention about the trend setting for learning requirement. Yes, so which is very effectively used currently. So we know about the performance management is always the source, right? So your appraisal happens, your manager finds out that these are the places you need to improve, this is the places you have excels. So the places where you need to improve, basically those are taken for your learning curve, and on those points your learning decision used to meet previously. But now, to bring out that learning curve, there are multiple points are taken, like your primary skill, your secondary skill, if there is any niche skill where you wanted to be a part of. So all those informations are fed in the system, and when we wanted to have a detailed development plan for the employees, we are getting those informations, where it is helping us to help the employees retain in the organization. We all know that attrition is the biggest problem in the corporate organizations. It was a big problem, it is a big problem, it will be a big problem. To help to come out from that problem, this is also can be used as a very effective tool, and trust me, it is getting used as a very effective tool currently. So even not only for the attrition, think about a situation where you need to cross skill one employee and use that employee in future for a project. So in this case, this recruitment and learning requirement can be integrated very quickly using this analytics tool. So what they will do, they will see that there is a requirement comes in, and they can see that they can cross skill an employee from the development plan. So they also will be understand if they cross skill, within how many days the level of performance is expected that employee can achieve in that case. So in each and every cases, there will be a forecasting possibility to see the trend, to see the analysis. Yeah. So that is mainly about the product what I work upon, like the SAP HCM and success factors, and how they are helping us in the HR analytics tool. So in a nutshell, if I see like this enterprise resource planning and the HR analytics, the ideology which runs behind this both tool is to learn from the past, monitor your present, and create your future. So with that, I'm going to end my presentation here, and I'd love to take any questions if anyone have any.
Thanks, Anusha. It was so nice to hear from you.
Thank you.
A couple of things which came up in the course of your discussion is you have very effectively mentioned the relationship between HR analytics and enterprise resource planning, and you have given a detailed analysis of what this is all into, especially with SAP HCM and SAS working in support of this. A couple of things which came up during your deliberations is the role of an HR analyst. I would like to post one question. How far do you think that the importance of HR analyst has come up with the passage of time, with the integration of HR with the different analytical tools which are coming up? How far it is getting importance?
Oh, I will say that it's very important currently. Like I am currently working with a very eminent organizations where like multiple clients I'm handling. So in that case, when we have the discussions with the organization head, so at that point of time, the main question what they ask, like how better this HR analytics help them. So now the term HR analytics is actually not getting used more. So they are started using it as people analytics, you know. So how this people analytics help them. So it is not only the HR, it even the employees are getting helped with this analytical tool. So actually, when you see the requirement coming from the business, it's mainly about they know about their strength, but what they wanted to know that how the strength can be percolated so that they can increase their efficiency, how the efficiency can be increased. So in that case, the HR analyst role is very, very important.
So,
Because yes.
so it is an interpretation, or you want to transform that strength into effectiveness of the employees. That is what you're telling.
Yes, not only the employees and the organizations.
Organization as a whole. I need to see
Yes.
the entire organization on a macro point of view, you are telling.
Exactly. Like the example I was giving you for the retention, right? So it is always a very big problem what we face. So I'm just giving you an example. Like initially, if you see, most of the organization actually stops us using any other sites apart from the official sites in our laptop. But now most of the organizations are actually not restricting you to use the multiple sites in your organizations. Why? Because there is an analysis happening on the basis of that also. So we are seeing like which employees are using the career portal, multiple career portal. So that helps us to understand that whether these employees are interested to leave the organizations, and if that employee is very important to us, is there any way we can retain those employees? So it's
Exactly.
always better to be proactive than being reactive, right? So this is the place where HR analytics is actually working miracles. So there are many cases they were able to.
You would like to stop the event before making an analysis after the event has already occurred. So
Yes.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. In fact, Anusha, we have one question.
Sure.
What are the measures which can be implemented with HR analytics for a sustained ethical approach with a background verification of the employees in an organization? That was from Mr. Sonak Basu.
Okay. Thanks for the questions. So it's related to the HR analytics for a sustained ethical approach with the background verifications. Okay. So what we, I have not come across to this situation currently, but I don't believe that there is any situation which cannot be handled by HR analytics, right? So yes, of course, what can be done? Like we can understand in which of the organizations the persons has already worked upon. So we are having their CVs already, and we know that what are the basic criteria to check for that. Example, when you go for an organizations related to, like, giving an example of any of the MNCs, right? So when you have worked already in the MNCs, you know like what kind of background checks are already happened for those organizations. So if you are hiring an employee who is coming from an MNC, so you know that there is much lesser chance of getting fake exposures or fake background situations. So we have, in our experience, we get these situations, day in and day out, like where we get the employees that at that point of time, and it's always benefit. What I'll say, like, using the analytical skill, we will always be able to understand with their old experience, in which organizations they have worked. If you analyze that, from there, it will be understanding their background.
Okay. Thanks, Anvisha. We would love to take further questions, but due to the paucity of time, maybe if some questions come at the end of this session, we would love to take. Otherwise, I hope you don't have any issue if the questions are taken offline.
Yeah, sure, no problem. What I'll do, I'll just leave my email ID here.
Sure, please.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for spending your valuable time. And we learned a lot from your analysis relating to enterprise resource planning. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. We have our next speaker, Mr. Vishal Varma. I would request Vishal. Vishal is head of HR of Alumnus Software Limited, and Vishal, I know Vishal for quite a number of years. He is a friend of mine. So Vishal, without much hesitation, I would request if you can please take the stage and share your views. Nice to see you, Vishal. Good evening.
Thank you, Pradip, and thank you, Patra sir, for giving me the opportunity. And as I have already been explained, let me give you a small brief of my profile so that it will be easy for those people who want to come into the fields of HR analytics. I come from a biology background. Okay, so I started my higher secondary in biology. So I planned to become a doctor, but unfortunately, or whatever you can say, I did not become a doctor. I landed into HR analytics. Okay, so then I did my graduation in botany. Okay, and most of you who are not coming from mathematics background or engineering background can understand that usually, or those who are from the science background can understand that basically all the students who are from the biology background are taken or considered into a person who hates to be a maths oriented person. Okay, and here the word analytics comes, and people are very worried about whether analytics is all about mathematics. Yes, mathematics is there. Okay, but why I said that I come from the biology background is that you can understand that a person coming from biology background can do HR analytics. Okay, so that your background, your educational backgrounds is not a criteria to justify whether you want to come in join into HR analytics or not. Okay, so I'll just ask for permission to share my screen.
Yes, please, Vishal, please continue. We are eagerly waiting for your inputs.
Okay, so I will be using the white screen. I will not use any other screens. So let me just set it up. Give me a second. Okay, so when we are talking about, and excuse me for bad handwriting that I have. Just a second. Let me have a little setup. So excuse me for bad handwriting. So what we are discussing about here is HR analytics. So there are two words here. One is HR and what is analytics. I prefer not to use PPT because that restricts the thoughts. So when we are talking about HR, what we in HR do, we do recruitment, right? So we do compensation benefit, we do PMS, we do employee engagement, we do understanding of the demography of the employees. Okay, we do attrition analysis, we do a hell lot of other activities. Okay, so in all those things, there are one thing very common. Okay, why we do this? The fundamental concept here is that we want to do this for organizational profit, or you can say organizational growth. Okay, let me be straightforward. We are concerned about the profit of the organization. That's it. Okay, so now when we are the person involved with the HR related activities, okay, so human resources. So many people call as human capital. Let us call it as human resources itself. Okay, now these are the resources that will be responsible for the upgrowth of the organizational profit. So we have the data coming from the recruitment, compensation management, PMS, employee engagement, demography, attrition analysis. Okay, we do employee satisfaction survey. That is what we call ESS. Then we have got applicants tracking system. We do that. We do psychometric analysis. Okay, so we have got all these details. Okay, now we on most of the HRs do each and every either a part of that or involved in more or less all the activities. Now the other part, what we call is the analytics. So let me come to the analytics part here. When we talk about analytics or business in analytics in general, what we call as, it basically composes of three functions. One is called as the business. Then we have got statistics. And then we have got as technology. So you got talk about artificial intelligence systems or anything. You got talk about SAP. You talk about Tableau. You talk about BI. Everything comes under the part of the technology. Okay. And then we have the statistical function. So whether you are doing your MBA, you are doing your BBA, you are doing your post graduation in each stream, you are learning statistics in your classes. Okay, most of us has actually done that. And business for us, business is HR. Okay, so we have got the business, we have got the HR. So in HR, we do these things. Okay, now what actually we do in analytics? Okay, now let me explain you the steps because I will be talking more of technicalities, how we actually do this part, rather than talking about the benefits, and because there are a numbers of literature in all everywhere that you can come up and you can learn about what are the benefits and demerits of the HR analytics. So I'll be going more into technicalities so that when you start your career in HR analytics, that will make it will be easy for you. Now, first thing is that what we do is that what we call as ETL. Okay, ETL basically stands for extract, transform. I think there is some question on it. Okay. And then we have one thing here that is what we call as load. Okay. Now, first thing, let's talk about extract. Okay, extract is that we have to extract all the data. Just as Anusha has already explained that the success factor has the capability of extracting the data from all these different divisions and giving it to one form. Okay, so we have got, say, for example, we have the sheet for recruitment, we have the sheet for compensation benefit, we have the sheet for PMS, employee engagement. Okay, so all these data are there. Okay, now all these data are extracted. Sorry. So all these data are extracted from there. Okay, now the other thing is that what we call as the transform. Okay, now what happens is that as Professor Joydeep has already said, that there are some data that is garbage. Okay, but there are some data that is very useful. Okay. Then there are some data that may be useful, may not be useful. Okay. Now here it is very important that the understanding of HR is important too, especially when we are talking about transform and load. Okay, extraction is very easy. Okay, extraction is just pulling out the data. Say for example, we have got the employee ID, that is a common ID for everyone. Okay, so we have the employee ID that is common with the compensation management, PMS, employee engagement, attrition, everything. The employee ID is one of the common things. Okay. So when we are having the one of common thing, it's very easy to have extract. Just if we know, Excel, it's just a VLOOKUP function that will extract all the data from everywhere. Okay. Now the important thing is that we need to understand the transform. Okay. Now this area transform requires the proper understanding of HR. Let me explain you while I am discussing it. That is why I did not use PowerPoint presentation to restrict my thought. Is that HR analytics in India still is not that popular. The reason why that is not popular is that other than all other analytical work, be it sales analytics or market financial analytics, or we can talk about artificial intelligence related to machine, robotics, everything. Okay, that can be done by engineers. Okay, But the problem with HR analytics is that if you do not understand human behavior, okay, you cannot understand, you do not understand why I am doing this thing, or what is the fact that it is related to human psychology. Okay. When the human psychology is concerned, okay, this changes according to the environment. I am talking to you, I have been very close to some people, I am not close to some people. My way of interacting with some people will be different from those people who I'm not comfortable with. Okay. So that is where actually the understanding of the HR is important. That one of the reason is that now you cannot expect an engineer to become an HR analyst. Okay. So the only thing that is there is that the HR has to understand analytics, understand how the process of all the statistics and technology, and then convert it into HR analytics. Okay, the engineering equations are not going to help. Okay, the only thing is going to help is that the HR becomes HR analyst, not the engineers becoming HR analyst. Okay, so what is happening is that we need to transform. The transformation data is that basically, so say for example, we talk about age. Okay, so age is the continuous data. If we talk about gender, okay, it's basically a categorical data. Okay, it can be either male or it can be a female. Okay, if you talk about marital status, a person can be a married or unmarried. All we need is to convert all different forms of data into a single form of data. That way, I mean, most of the HR analytical tool, we use the data that is what we call as the categorical data. Okay, so we need to convert this data that is not age as a continuous data or gender as a bifurcated data. These data need to be converted into categorical data. Okay. Once this transformation has been done, then we put that all into a single sheet. Okay. So all this data coming from recruitment, compensation, PMS, employee satisfaction survey, psychometric tools, this all comes under a single sheet. That is a single database. That is what we call as ETL. Okay. Now this particular final sheet that we are having here, we do analysis on this sheet. Okay. Now before we do the analysis, let me introduce to you a concept here. Okay. Let me clear the screen. So we have got two models or two frameworks on which we all work on HR analytics. One is your LAMP model, and one is STM21. Okay. This was given by Bordio and Hampstead. This was given by Jack Finch. Okay. I personally work on LAMP. Okay. It's your choice. You want to work with LAMP model or you work with STM21 model. Okay. But whatever the model you are taking up, whether you are taking up LAMP model or STM21 model, you have to follow that for entire period or entire project. Okay. I personally use LAMP model. Okay. So let me explain you the LAMP model. It's basically is logic, analytics, then we have measures, and then we have the processes. Now, when we have that data, that is the after transformation, we loaded the data and made a database. Now we need to understand why are we doing this thing. This is very important to understand. Are we doing it for manpower planning? We are doing for attrition control. We are doing for performance prediction. We are doing for learning and development. We are doing for recruitment. Whatever we are trying to do, we need to understand that why are we going to do that, and what is the possible outcome that we are looking forward for. On the basis of that logic, say for example, we are going for manpower planning, then we will be using the data related to manpower planning. Okay. Then we will analyze the data, set our measures, and set the processes. Okay. So let me take this as example, manpower planning. Okay, let me check the time. Yes, we have some time. Okay, so we have got in manpower planning, there are two things. One is the supply and one is the demand. Now in supply analysis, what is happening is that on the previous year, say for example, we are working in the year 2021. So in 2020, we were having say X number of employees. Okay. And we in 2019, we have say for example, let me put it X1, X2, it will be easy for understand. So in 2021, what is going to happen is that the movement from X1 to X2, we know that this will the attrition rate. Okay, so for attrition rate, say for example, we take at attrition rate A1. On the basis of that attrition rate, we will be coming that in X2, in third year, that is X3, there will be, if I continue with this attrition A1 here, and this A1 here, we will be having say X3 number of employees left. Okay. Now it's important here to understand that there is an attrition. Okay, so what here we considered is on the basis of historical data that this actually happened earlier. Okay. But on the when we are using the doing the attrition analysis, we have got the opportunity that we will be able to understand what is the probability of a person P1, P2, P3, that is our employees, to leave the organization. Okay. We found that on the basis of different attrition analysis, I'm not going into much detail about how this process has been done. Just I will, of course, I will give some brief that will be enable you to design and understand the processes. Okay, so we know that there is a 70% probability. This person has got 80% probability. This person has got 60% probability of leaving the organization. And from the entire past, we have seen that the person who has got 80% probability or higher has actually left the organization. Okay. Now, what we are doing is here that we will be using adding this attrition probability and getting a new supply that will be X4 that will be available in our organization. Now, if the demand of the manpower is say constant, we do not require. So the organization was requiring say population PX in 2019, and in 2020 population PX was required. In 2021 population PX was required. So the demands, if it is constant, okay, we know that the manpower is coming down to this. Okay, so X1 was greater than X2, X2 was greater than X3, X3 was greater than X4. Okay, so we have got X4 as the amount, but as since the demand is constant here, so we need this number of people. Okay, and on the basis of entire analysis report on the entire manpower, if we require, see that say for example level 1, level 2, this we do for all levels. Okay, all levels, all gaps, all in then there will be some also when say for example a person from level 1 will be moving to level 2. Okay, now this entire process that we have done here is also done in this sheet. Okay, so this will be giving me a supply forecasting for 2021. Okay, for 2022, if the everything remains same, that this will be my supply. Then on the basis of the PMS, say for example, we have the data from the PMS, we know that this number of people would be moving from L1 to L2 or moving from L2 to L3. So the final number of number of employees required at level 1 we know, level 2 we know, level 3. So this is the availability we know. Okay, so once we have the availability, we can tell our recruitment team here that see brother, see sister, we can we require this number of people for L1, L2, L3 level. Okay, now what is actually analytics helping us here? Analytics is basically helping us to predict that these people might leave the organization. This is the old trend. Okay, so what we are doing here is to understand the trend of attrition, understand the probability of an employee leaving the organization, adding up to get the supply analysis, And according to that, if the demand is constant, then we give the demand. If the demand is growing at a certain period of time or say years, we can work on the different demand forecasting. So we get the gap. Okay, and once we get the gap, we give the recruitment person this is the gap that is required. Okay, and these are the number of people at different levels that we are coming up. Okay, now when we are talking about attrition analysis, Pradipta, I think I have some time.
Yeah, we are running short of time, Vishal.
Okay, I'll
But
just five more minutes. Okay.
no, it's okay. Would have loved to, but again, the time is a
Yeah,
constraint.
that is
A
right.
lot many
Take,
things we can.
yeah,
Sure, please. Sure.
I'll just take 5 minutes of more time. Okay, so let me explain. That is one of the most popular part that we do actually when we talk about HR analytics. That is attrition. Okay. Now, when we are talking about attrition control or attrition probability system, we basically works on what we call as the logistic regression. You will learn about this thing, or if you have done, you have completed your stats paper, there you have already learned about this logistic regression. Okay, so there is two probability whether the person will be leaving the organization or working with the organization. So we can take it this one as 0 or 1. Okay, so it will basically a sigmoid curve. Sorry. Okay, so it will be a sigmoid curve like this. Okay, so it can be at any level. The employee can be at any level. So what we actually do is to add in attrition control. Say, for example, we have the psychometric test done for all employees. We have done, the demographic analysis. We have got employee satisfaction survey. We have the applicant tracking system. We have the compa ratio coming from your, the compensation benefit. We have got the PMS data. Okay, and we have got all this data that is available, the survey and everything. Okay, we put it on the survey and find that certain characteristics are basically working on that. Okay, there is a p-value system. I will not go into detail into much of that, just to give you the name so that it will be not easy for you to understand when you are actually working on HR analytics. Okay, so we actually identify which are the characteristics on the basis of our HR understanding, at the same time statistical analysis, and form an equation. Okay, so what we have is y is equal to a plus y is equal to a plus b1 x1 plus b2 x2 plus b3 x3 and so on. Now, in many of the job description that you have gone through, or if you've seen for HR analytics job description, they always talks about whether you can make an HR analytics model, right? So this is the HR analytical model. So when we are talking about HR analytical model, it is this equation that whether you can do it or not. Okay, if you are going to go more about the automation and put it into artificial intelligence, then your engineers can support you. But this equation and HR need to come up with. Okay, so on the basis of that, this is the probability p y. That is what we want to know, is that what is the percentage probability of the employee leaving the organization. Okay, so these are the factors, these are the constants. Okay, I'll not go into detail of arithmetical calculation, how it is done. Okay, so then we have to do, and just one more thing before I come up. So when we are talking about HR analytics, you need to understand that there are 4 levels of HR analytics. First is your descriptive. Okay, so all your success factor, all your the HR softwares that are available, basically talks about descriptive analytics. Now, next is your diagnostic. Then is your predictive, and then is your prescriptive. Okay, this is the hierarchy of the data. So almost all the organizations are there in descriptive model, distributive analytics. So don't ever think that any organization is not doing analytics. They are doing analytics, but at the level of descriptive analytics. Okay. So once you go into business and intelligence tools like Tableau or Power BI, okay, so we have got Tableau, we have got ClickView. There are numbers of applications. Okay, then we have got Power BI. Okay, there are numbers of applications. Okay, now what happens is that these all tools actually help you into diagnosis of the problem. And once you are past the stage of the diagnosis of problem, you predict a model. Okay, so what we do actually is to predict y is equal to a plus bx. That is the predictive model that we are coming up. And on the prescription, basically what actually we do that, yes, if this thing happens, okay, so in descriptive analytics is that what actually happened, okay, why it happened, okay, what will happen if this thing continues, and what can we do to overcome this problem. Okay, so if you go to a doctor, okay, doctor will ask you about what are the symptoms that are there in your body. On the basis of that symptom, he will ask you to get yourself tested for clinical tested. Once he get the diagnostic reports, he, on the basis of understanding, that is what in our case is HR understanding, predicts that if this is the case, then the person is passing through X issue. Okay, and on the basis of X issue, he prepares that he say, for example, this person who has went to the doctor is having fever, so gives paracetamol. That is what is the prescription. Okay, so this is brief about HR analytics. Due to paucity of times, I cannot go much into detail of that, but I would love to go for that.
Thank you. Thanks, Vishal. It was so nice. Really, it would have been better had we had more time, and especially your analysis relating to this, how HR analysis can be used for the business analysis, the way you have explained, relating to this ETL, this LAMP model, HCM21. Really, there are so many things we could have learned. And lastly, this transformation, the way you have explained with the medical practitioner, the correlation between HR and the medical practitioner relating from descriptive to diagnostic to predictive to prescriptive. It's something absolutely calculative, and it's so methodically you are interpreting it. Thank you so much. Maybe some other time we will get more time to give you to have a better understanding. Thank you so much. Now we have with us our last speakers, Mr. Sunny Mukherjee, HR analytics expert. I would request Mr. Sunny to please share your thoughts with us so that we are enlightened by your views.
Sure. So good evening, everyone. Thanks to BIMS and Mandira ma'am for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts and experience on this forum. So let's start discussing on today's topic, that is HR analytics. So in HR analytics, HR team gather and analyze the data to understand their company's workforce. It includes everything from headcount, compensation, work location, hiring, onboarding, turnover, employee engagement, diversity and inclusion, learning and development, etc. So these analytics are gathered from multiple sources. The sources could be ATS, the sources could be HRIS, HCM, HRMS. So this is critical for large companies with thousands of headcounts in multiple locations. So HR analytics can help HR team to monitor employee performance and engagement to reduce turnover and build a more productive workforce. So now that we have discussed about the different ways that our HR team is handling right now, so let's walk through each steps of the data collection and analysis process. So most HR analytics data is collected via 3 tiers of HR system: human resource information system. So this HRIS collects and stores data of company's employee, including their name, age, address, salary, benefits, attendance performance review. Then comes HCM, human capital system. So HCM solution will include everything in HRIS like onboarding details, performance details, position control, tracking, succession data, salary and bonus planning, reward system. SM also typically includes the talent management system, which collects data regarding employee skill, goals, performance development, etc. Then next is HRMS. So HRMS houses everything in the HRS and HCM, plus payroll and time tracking. So if we talk about recruitment, AI technology streamlines the process of screening potential candidates for a position by reducing the overall time to hire. AI tools can gather necessary candidate information by asking basic questions to examine whether a candidate is suitable for the position before a formal interview with the HR representative. Like while applying for a particular opening, before submitting your profile, you will see few questions which will pop up in your screen. It could be anything like mention your key skills, how many years of experience do you have, your specialization area, how soon you can join the organization. So these steps helps a recruiter to have sense of your profile, whether you are a fit for this profile or not. If the recruiter thinks you met the criteria while reviewing those initial questions, then only recruiter will go through the entire CV. It helps to save the time of a recruiter to meet the tag for that particular opening. Before HR interview, AI chatbots and virtual interfaces can perform initial screening processes with potential candidate to access for specific qualities, skills, and credentials. So this means that by time of candidates coming for interview, it will be easier for talent acquisition team to run the process, as the basic criteria have already been met. So this saves HR representative from spending time asking basic questions and covering these fundamental topics, leaving them to simply deal with the more complex and personal areas of screening. So once the application got hired, employee need training, orientation, and support throughout their initial time with the company. They will need to adjust to their new roles, adapt to new routines, and assimilate into the culture of the company. So AI interfaces can run new hires through necessary procedures, protocols, policies, as well as answer common questions concerned in a real time. AI can act as a pool of company information for new employees to access at any time, no matter how small their query may be, without taking up the valuable time of senior employees. So it could be related to anything. It could be leave balance related information if the employees wants, holiday calendar related information, their provision confirmation related queries, your performance rating, company policy related queries. It can be anything. So many employees may also find training more comfortable and constructive when the process is being overseen by a virtual AI mentor rather than a senior employee, as this can reduce performance anxiety and increase personal confidence in asking questions without having a fear of judgment of wasting time. This virtual mentor can also provide personalized assistance throughout training by having access to personal files and company policies all the times. So when we are hiring people, we hire over the globe. We hire people from Kolkata, we hire people from Delhi, Hyderabad, and so on, from different sectors. And when we are hiring them, we think they will stay with us at least for 4 to 6 years. They will keep giving their inputs. They will grow with us. They will build, but it's not always the same. What happens is when we are hiring people and they come to the organization, we need to train them. We need to develop their skills as per the team requirements, as per our business requirements. And then they join the team, they become part of the organization, and after the year, they leave. Then we think, was it the cost effective? Was it training cost effective? And these are the small things where you start analyzing the things. So it is not that straightforward to come in the organization and you become an analyst, but you can analyze things as and when whatever work you are doing. If you are in a performance appraisal, you can derive things from how the team is performing, why the team is not performing well. Or if a team is full of good people and one team is not full of, like you say, average people, you can merge these two and try to build team where a balance coming out. So HR is not just interacting with the people, things like they involve in recruitment, onboarding, preparing pay slips, organizing corporate events, doing employees engagement activities, but HR is more in depth. And once you get into the industry, first thing which I would definitely say to everyone, to work on your database. Whatever database you have, start analyzing that data. It depends on the size of the company on which platform they will analyze the data. It could be on SAP, Oracle, anything. What we can do, we can maintain our data simply on Excel. So whatever you do is start building up your own database. I would say as a student, get your grips on Excel. It's really helpful. And I would say there is an opportunity in Excel. If someone is good in Excel, he or she will get a job easily even in today's market, because you are able to produce reports. You are able to show the things in a different manner. Graphs are one of the important parts showcasing your data. It could be a bar graph, scattered graph, or you can present in a pivot table as well. Only collecting data is not important. It's also important how you are presenting it. I would recommend you all to get knowledge on Excel, start gathering information on Excel, basic formulas like VLOOKUP, sum if, count if, pivot table, and macro as well. If you really have a good hands-on, I'm sure you join in an organization, your skill will be seen and it would be appreciated, and it will make your life easier as well. So it will be easier for you to present your data and show it to your leadership. If you want some change in your process, you have to show them the base and explain them the analysis. You can tell them, I have done some analysis. This is what easier it was. Earlier it was, and this is the new change I want to present, and here's the difference, how it will bring change in the current process. Also, work on your PowerPoint presentation. It's not about just preparing the PPT, but also to express your thoughts and analysis. In Excel, there is something called macros. If you are a bit technical or came from a technical background, I would say try learning macros. These are something which is new coming up nowadays, called as artificial intelligence. And let's say, suppose I do 10 tasks in a day, and what my AI will do, it will keep on recognizing what I do step by step. It will record all the steps, and then you design such a program which will reduce the time what you are preparing, and it will help you to enhance your skills as your entire work week's task can be done in few hours, and you can utilize your work in other productive tasks and by doing some enhancing trainings. So for an example, in my previous project, I was used to produce daily, weekly, and monthly HR reports like hires report, separation report, bench report, and analysis report, demand and supply report. I and my team used to pull extracts, and we were doing some initial formatting and start working on templates. We spent hours and hours to produce those dashboards, and we required time to do quality checks. As these reports are business critical reports, we cannot entertain a minor mistake in these reports. Hence, we have decided to take help from AI. Initially, we have started working on recorded macros, where macro captured step-by-step procedure, which we perform while creating the reports. After completion of the report preparation steps, we saved the macro, and we were using those macros while producing the report next time. And it's really save our times. Earlier, we took around 30 minutes to produce one basic report, including quality check time. But now, after using the macro, we produce the report hardly in 2 minutes. And we utilize the extra time in AI trainings. Then we move to VBA, and then we move to Power BI. With the help of AI, we were able to transition other HR works in our development center. So, sir, can I proceed ahead? Or what to do?
Mr. Salim, I'm sorry. Mr. Salim, we would have loved to, but again, we are running out of time. We were supposed to wind it by 7 p.m. So,
okay.
So
I will take hardly 1 minute. So I will.
No, I'm definitely, just before you proceed, I'm just interrupting apologies, is that there has been a request that if some slides can be shared from your end, maybe you can share it offline with Mr.
Definitely. I'll do that. I'll do that.
We are very sorry because we are running short of time. That's the only excuse I can give. Otherwise, we would have loved to be a part of this discussion. But unfortunately, time is the constraint.
So I would like to give one recommendation to the students. So
Sure.
acquire your knowledge on Excel and gradually move to the HR analytics tools. You can go through YouTube videos. You can enroll yourself for online courses, which is available on Coursera and Udemy. So I would recommend Coursera. So sometimes you will also enroll for a free courses. So Coursera is definitely a good site. So enroll yourself and do some trainings. That's it from my side. Thank you all and best of luck for your future.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sunny. In fact, your easy elucidation of and sharing your advice with the students relating to the use of and work on data, especially students will be passing out there. For them, it is something so important that they have access to the data and work on the data for their interpretation, which is a part of the business requirement. So that is one thing which you have so well elucidated and so well explained. And I think this is one thing which the students will take, because all of them will be passing and graduating in the coming months. So for them, working on the data, getting hold of the data, working on the data and interpreting and analyzing as per the business requirement is what is the need of the hour. Thank you so much. So this, thank you. Thanks. So with this, we are coming to the end. We are already overstepped time, but as it happens with so good speakers, so effective speakers, and so much of information, so much of knowledge is being shared, which has been shared. I think it's quite natural that we cannot restrict ourselves within the time limit. Again, a big thanks to the organizers, that is BIMS, Dr. Madam Mandira De, Principal Sir, and to all the honorable guests over here, the faculties. I see my very close friend and Dr. DP Chattopadhyay is also there. I would love to interact with you, sir. Maybe it's so nice to see you, sir. My regards to you, and to all the faculty members who are present here, and most of all, the students who are here. So many students have logged in and so many so, thank you so much.
My personal regards to you, Pradeep sir. Excellent moderation, wonderful sessions by all speakers. Thanks to BIMS. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And I would like to hand over to Dr. Mandira De. Madam, you please continue with the proceedings. Thank you so much.
Yes, it's a wonderful sessions. I think our students, our participants has really credited with a valuable, immense knowledge in the domain of HR analytics. So now we have come to the end of the session and I am here to give the vote of thanks. So it gives me the immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this event to our honorable moderator, eminent speakers who are assembled here. I would also like to take the privilege to thank our principal, sir, teachers, and staff members for coordinating such a valuable session. The wholeheartedly, the IT support which we have received from Mr. Rana Ghosh Dostidar, the system coordinator, and Mr. Topon Das, the technical coordinator. Without their support, we could not make our event a grand success. And I don't miss to thank to our audience for whom our program has reached the zenith of success. So thanks to all of you. And again, I am giving a reminder that a feedback form has been circulated in the chat box. Please you fill up the feedback form in order to get the participation certificate. And we are ending our program with the national anthem. It is a humble request to all of you. Please, you stand, please, we can honor our national anthem by standing up. Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks to all of you for having a good session, interactive and coordinating us to make our program a grand success. We are really grateful to all of you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.